Have you ever felt like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, but you don't just something's off and you just don't quite fit in? I have spent my entire life that way. I remember when I was younger, I would go to church with my grandmother, and we would spend the night with her on Saturday nights, and we'd go to church on Sunday morning, and then we'd come back home and we'd go do stuff with my family, with my parents. But I knew I was supposed to be there, and I knew that I needed to be in church, and I knew that was where I was supposed to be at, but it was just a little off because all these other kids had their parents there with them, and here I was going with my grandmother, so I was just a little bit off. Same thing happens when I was going to Pop Warner football when I was younger. My parents, they weren't in church, but they did do a very good job of raising me, my brother, and my sister. Now, years later, they got hit with a Jesus stick, and so they were fully committed followers of Christ now. When I was younger, I played Pop Warner football, and my dad drove me all the way across town because he had a connection with another team, their coach, and he just really wanted me to be able to play on that team and for that coach to kind of pour into me. Well, the catch on it was not only did I not necessarily fit in, I was the only white kid on the team. So I know what it feels like to know that I'm supposed to be where I am, but not necessarily like identify with everybody else. Years later, I became a police officer, and I remember trying to fit into that mold, and at the same time knowing that, you know what, I'm not militaristic like some of these other guys are. So I knew I was where I was supposed to be at, and I was really good at what I did, but I didn't quite fit into the mold that some of these other guys were fitting in, what they would call like a prototype. Fast forward a little bit, and here I am, and I've become a pastor, and I have served in many roles over the years. From being a student pastor to an interim senior pastor, all the way to even now I'm serving as a student pastor / missions pastor. And over the years, it has been one of those things that would people just never would necessarily see me out in public and go, oh yeah, he's a pastor. Matter of fact, I'd go to dinner or to lunch with some of the church members or deacons, and they thought it was the funniest thing whenever the waitresses would come and we would interact and banter a little bit, and the waitresses would relax and they would get to talking, and something would be said, and one of the deacons or one of the other couples that was at dinner with us would say, and he's the pastor. And it would be like this big shock because I don't act like a pastor when I'm out. I just act like I am. And so I have lived my entire life knowing I'm where I'm supposed to be at, but not quite fitting in to the prototype. And for a while, it really bothered me until I realized that God created me so unique that I was never going to fit in. And He's created you unique enough that you're never just going to fit in. And in the midst of that, you have to learn to be able to deal with the parts of you that know you're supposed to be there, and the other parts that don't necessarily completely identify with being in that spot. And it took me a while to come to this understanding that it's not as important that I match every prototype of what somebody says that I should be. What's really important is that I match the prototype that God says that I should be. That I am supposed to be a man who leads his home. I'm supposed to be a father that grows and raises young men and young women to be godly men and women. And so I've kind of embraced the uniqueness of who I am. But here's the point, is that even though you're unique and you fill a role, there has to be something that connects you with something bigger than what you are that you can identify with. And over the years, I have taken my children and I've watched them kind of follow the same path. And I've had to tell them, you're not going to completely fit with every single person. But as long as you fit with who God says that you're supposed to be, and you fit what He expects from you as a citizen of heaven, then you are exactly who you're supposed to be. And so in raising my children, we have this list of values, and you'll hear me talk about them a lot as you see some of the content and stuff that we have that comes out. But I have raised my children this way. In fact, my two boys at their graduations, I have gone through this list of values that I have been holding so tight to make sure that I have instilled in them. And so here's what I want to do today, just so that we kind of get to know each other a little bit. I want to share with you my 15 core values as a man. These 15 core values are who I am. I may not look like the pastor that you see on Sunday morning. I may not look like the police officer that you see walking around. Now, I'm not a police officer anymore, so I shouldn't look like him at all. But if you look at how I act, I don't act that way. So these 15 values are who I am, and I want to share them with you because I feel like these values are not just for me on who I am. They apply to every believer, every person who is a follower of Christ, who is a citizen of heaven. These 15 values should be core to who they are. And so let me share these values with you really quick. And you're going to hear them a lot as the weeks and the months and the years go by, and you'll hear me constantly come back to this list of 15. It defines who I am. It sets the parameters of the way that I live my life. And I'll tell you, they are so important to me that I would literally give up everything just not to violate one of these values. And they're that important that you hear me, I'll choke up over it because they are that important to who I am. And I hope that I've raised my boys and I've raised my daughter to have these same values, to be so vital to who they are in their life, that they hold them as closely and tightly as I do. And I hope as we get to know each other better over the next couple months, years, as we become more and more familiar with each other, that these values will start to show themselves up in your life as well. So here's my 15 values. Number 1, you must work twice as hard as everyone else. Nobody's going to give you a thing. And if you expect somebody just to hand it to you because of who you are or how you look, then you are deceiving yourself. If you want to be the person that God's called you to be, and you want to see things come in your life, then you have to work hard for it. You'll hear me say all the time, be gritty. And what I'm meaning by that is you need to work twice as hard as everybody else. Nobody's giving you anything. Number 2, your attitude will open doors that skill and talent can't. You'll hear me tell you a story about my son coming up soon, and this was so important. He was getting ready to participate in something that he had never done before, and I had to sit him down and I said, look, your skills and your talent and your experience, you're trying something you've never done. You're never going to make the team doing this. But let me share with you how you do make the team. And I told him, I said, your attitude's going to mean everything. You make sure you're the first one there when the coach calls. You make sure that you're always running on and off the field, that you are, yes, sir, what can I do? Yes, sir. And you're always the one that's volunteering and helping. And here's what happened. He was the worst. And I say this to you because I've told him this and he knows it, right? He was the worst player that was out on the field, but he was the first one that the coach picked because his attitude was going to carry him farther than what his skills or talent. Number 3, taking handouts will cripple you. If you set yourself up to always be asking somebody else to step up and help you, and you're not willing to try to work yourself and figure it out and take every means necessary before you have to turn around and ask for help on something that you're responsible for, if you allow other people to take on your responsibilities, you will cripple your ability to lead your family and to influence others. Number 4, be generous with everything you have. Everything you have. I tell people all the time, I say, if you need it, come borrow it, but you bring it back. My granddaddy would say, you can borrow it, but you bring it back the same way you found it. And it was, yes, sir. I have learned that the only way to make sure that I don't begin to covet things is to be generous with it. And by the way, if you have stuff and you use it and your primary reason you have it is to be able to carry out what God has called you to do, then it is always going to be a worthy endeavor. But to be generous with who you are and what you have. I will give stuff away. I'm probably the worst business person that's ever done business because I'm not going to allow somebody to suffer or hurt, even if it costs me something. Number 5, never accept average. As you try to fit in with people in their life, you're always going to get to a point that you think that you just need to fit in and not cause a distraction. But the truth of the matter is God didn't create you to be average. He created you for greater things. In fact, Scripture says that Jesus told us that we would do even greater things than he's done because he's going to the Father and he's going to go on our behalf and ask. Think about that for a minute. God created you to be average. Why would he have told you that you're going to do even greater things? Average is a disclaimer that the world wants you to fit into, but God didn't call you to fit into the world. He called you to be a disruptor, to be better than that. So never accept average. Number 6, you stand firm. and never back down from what you know is right, regardless of what it's going to cost you. There'll be things that you have to do because it's the right thing that's going to cost you everything. But if you don't do it, you'll lose everything. What you hold true to being who you are and what you stand for is the most important thing in your life. Never cower it away because the opposition is trying to change who you are. Number 7, the things that you do affect others even if you don't know it. The way you live your life, the way you go about your day at work, all of that, it's affecting other people. First of all, it's affecting your wife and it's affecting your children because they're watching you. Secondly, it's affecting your co-workers because if you're not pulling your weight, they're having to pick it up. And just so you know, if you are a follower of Christ and you are a professing believer, they're watching you to see whether or not you're going to hold true to what you say. And when you stumble, they use that as justification for why your God and what you believe isn't real. Number 8, you're only as good as your name. My dad would tell me all the time, you're only as good as your name. If you say you're going to do it, then you do it. And I have lived by that, and I have raised my kids. If you tell somebody that you can do something, or you promise somebody that you're going to be there, it doesn't matter what else happens. It doesn't matter what else is going on in your world. It doesn't matter what pops up. Your responsibility is to be exactly where you said that you were going to be, because if you don't follow through and deliver on what you tell somebody, they're never going to trust you. They're never going to trust you the next time that you need something, the next time you try to give them a piece of advice, the next time that they're hoping that you're going to show up, they're just going to expect that you're not going to. Your name means everything. It means everything. Number 9, failure is a part of life, but being a quitter is unacceptable. You're going to fail. I fail at everything at least once. I will take risks, and sometimes they pan out. Other times I'm left picking up the pieces. I have done more failures and risks and had to pick myself up than I can even count. Some of them have been really big failures. Some of them I'm really embarrassed about. But it doesn't give me a reason to pack it up and quit. You're not a quitter. So just because you messed something up, just because you didn't hit the marker, just because you weren't the man that you were supposed to be for your wife or for your children, doesn't mean you stop being the man. It means you need to be better. Number 10, it's okay to be emotional. What's not okay? It's not okay to lose your composure. You're going to find in life that there's going to be a lot of things. They're going to come up, and they're going to be some of the largest moments in your world. And you're either going to fly off the handle at it, you're going to crumble at it, or you're going to roll yourself up into a ball and try to avoid it. It's okay to be emotional. What's not okay is losing your composure to where you're not able to perform the tasks that's been put in front of you. Number 11, you may not have started it, but you need to finish it. This goes with confrontations. This goes with the being on the playground with a bully. It goes with stepping into a project that people are counting on you. It may not have been yours. Maybe you didn't cause the problem. Maybe you didn't create the disaster, but you're there now and you need to finish it and put it right. Number 12, tough times won't last, but tough people do. A lot of these were written to my children. And this particular one came probably at one of the hardest times of my life. We had just lost our house in Hurricane Florence. And I remember sitting on my porch, everything we owned sitting in the front yard. And I remember my son sitting beside me, and he just looked at me with this look. And in the moment, I didn't know what to say to him other than, we're going to make it through. Hardest year of my life. But here we are, we're still standing. Tough times won't last, but tough people do. Value 13, tell those you care about that you love them often. People need to hear you say that. You need to hear it said to you. I cannot tell you how many people I hear that go through their life and they've never had their dad or their mom. They've never heard them just say, hey, I love you. Just because you act like it or you say it doesn't mean that that's what somebody else is hearing or how they feel it. People need to hear you say that to them. Tell the people that you care about that you love them every day. Number 14, friends come and go, but no one will ever have your back like your brother and sister. I can't tell you how much I love my brother and my sister. They are my best friends. And no matter what happens, I know that they are going to be there. No matter how bad I mess it up, they're there. And I hope that they feel the same exact way about me. And number 15, and this is the one that's really important. Number 15, there is nothing more important than your relationship with God through Christ. No matter what your situation, this is where the solution begins. No matter what you're going through, no matter how many things you failed at, no matter how big the obstacles are in front of you, your relationship with Christ is where your solution begins. I promise you that's where it is. These are the 15 values. I know it's been a pretty long video, but here's what I'm going to say to you. If you can apply these 15 to your life, And you're going to hear me tell stories about these for months, just how these things have played in. If you can apply these to your life, you are going to be the man that God called you to be, regardless of whether or not you fit the protocol of the assignment that he's placed you at, even though you know that you're there because God placed you there and you're where you're supposed to be at. You may not fit in, but if you're living by these 15 values, you fit directly in to the citizenship of heaven, and this is who God has called you and created you